Hello, hi guys. This is a recording of this workshop that I held a few days ago, a few weeks ago, from design to development and an introduction to Webflow. And this is basically like a if you're a designer who wants to get into the hands of Webflow and find out the reasons why you want to get into Webflow, into web development and all that, this is the talk for you. And what we'll be doing as the agenda for this one is, like I introduced a little bit about what Webflow is, just a little bit about why I chose to do Webflow, and I have a design that I'll be building out, and you can follow along as well, and you can understand a few concepts about web development that you normally wouldn't know in when you're a designer, you know, and we're gonna touch on to a few things like content and layout, style guide, and mobile responsiveness. And then there's no Q and A. This is more than just like this is just like a video, but this is what happened in the workshop. This is what I'll be kind of representing today. Who is Studio Salamero? This is my studio. We're a design and web development agency and based in Hong Kong. We're one of three Webflow Professional Partners in Hong Kong. Work with a few brands. We work with enterprises, startups, and NGOs to create their online presence from strategy, design, development, and eventually optimization. And basically, we just use Webflow as a tool to help other companies, um, grow with their website. Okay. So why we learn Webflow? Actually, I got into Webflow like ages ago, in the start of my freelance career. Actually, not in freelance career. Like it was just like a few months into my freelance career, I was only doing UI UX design. I was designing apps, software, dashboards, websites too. But mostly my clients wanted me to develop it, and I just didn't know. I didn't have the time to you learn code in order to create my process. So I was really stuck. Then I found a few YouTube channels that taught Webflow, for example, Flux Academy, um, mainly Flux Academy, and I got into Webflow, started offering that as my service to my clients, and now it brought me so much. It brought me a lot of growth, and now I'm opening my new studio, and that's kind of like I'm pretty happy I learned Webflow, because ultimately when you start to learn Webflow, you learn how to communicate with different people in your a lot of different people through how front end development is made. When you get into Webflow, you start to learn some concepts like style guides, CMS, design systems, and all that, and then you'll be able to communicate with developers. And then once you get into like the CMS, all the know how to do integrations, optimize your site, do SEO and all that, then you start to learn how to talk with marketers and business development people, right? And teaching people how to like edit your site on their own, that's something that you learn how to communicate with people who are not very technically like adept. So you just learn to talk with a lot of people. And the reason why I kind of like did this workshop in the first place is because in Hong Kong, a lot of people tend to like when they get into design, they like to they like to get into full times with startups with huge design teams, or agencies that have to deal with other contractors. You know what I'm saying? And Webflow kind of helps with being able to communicate with all types of people. I've had a use case where um, I I had to communicate with a developer, a marketing team, business team, design team, and all that, and it really helped that I knew Webflow so that I could centralize everybody's like ideas and knowledge together in one. And yeah, centralize all their knowledge together using Webflow. It's kind of crazy, but we're not gonna get into that today. We're just gonna build build something very simple, and very straightforward, right? And why I chose Webflow instead of other platforms, like again, this is subjective. This is not like this is just my choice. WordPress, it was a little bit too technical for me, and like I think it is a it's the leading website builder nowadays, right? There's more sites being built by WordPress than by Webflow. Obviously, they have the largest market share, but in order to really utilize it as the bestest way as possible, you really need to get into the technical details and stuff. You have to learn how to be careful with the plugins that you use. Be careful not to make it too bloated, and it's good for the use case where there's customized functionality, like more logical functionality, but not in terms of like from a designer's perspective. It was very hard for me to like create the designs that I wanted on WordPress. And for Squarespace, I feel like it's a good platform for if you want something quick and you're not too keen on learning a few, like you don't have the time to learn front end concepts like UI, front end development concepts, and you just want something quick and easy, like a template. Their templates are very beautiful, but like if you want something flexible and you want to be able to control the layout or the animations and stuff, I wouldn't suggest Squarespace. For Wix, in my experience, I've had a lot of trouble trying to create layouts using Wix, because mainly Wix is targeted towards the non-developer, the non-technical guy. I might be wrong on this, but in my eyes, that's how I saw it, and therefore, I wasn't really drawn towards Wix. I had a lot of trouble with Wix. But for Webflow, it helped me customize layouts. I could actually design the layouts that I created on Figma or Sketch or whatever, and it can create production ready code that's easily understandable by developers and marketers and all types of people. And I want to quote this one line from JP. Um, Shout out to JP. Webflow empowers designers to build professional custom websites in a completely visual canvas. I think this is probably the main reason why I shifted to Webflow. There was that eureka moment when I was like, oh wow, I can actually design the things that I could actually develop the things I just designed. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I just kept using it. So I have a Figma file that I will be sharing with the entire video in the link description. You'll find the presentation here, and you will find the mockups here, right? And so for the mockups here, what I would do is like introduce what's happening here. There's a style guide on the left where usually what a style guide is, it introduces all the typography, the colors, buttons, spacing systems, etc., right? And now, what's going on? Oof. Okay. There's a little bit of a lag, but so the style guide consists of typography, colors, buttons, spacing, and containers, which I'll get into later. And on the second part of this style guide, you have the components, and basically what components are just for simplicity's sake, it's just within a page, what are the different sections, what are the different elements, what are the different parts of your website. So we have the navigation menu, that's one component, hero section, one component, services section, one component, work section, one component, and the CTA section, one component, photo component. That's basically it. And then lastly, we have mockups, because we are going to develop both the desktop and the mobile, right? And this is very common when you do front end, when you do Webflow development. You have to be aware of different screen sizes and all that. So here we have desktop and we have mobile. You can already see within the hero section, it's already different. In the desktop, the layout is horizontal, but in mobile it's vertical. If there's a grid of 2 by 2, then on mobile it's just stacked on top of each other, etc., etc. So we're going to be building this right now. And yeah, now let's see what we got here. Can I pause this? I hope everything's cool. And let's see. So first thing you'll want is we're gonna explore the Webflow designer. So I'm just gonna log into Webflow real quick. Add me. You can follow me on Webflow if you want. Totally fine. Just follow along, create your account if you want to. But if not, that's totally okay. And this is gonna be a problem because it's pretty laggy. But I hope it doesn't like take away from the experience and all that. So let's see. Let's see if let's log in first and create our first little site. Okay, I'm gonna create a blank site. I'm gonna call it what's it called? I'm gonna call it Jane Doe's portfolio, okay? Because that's what we're going to do. We're going to make Jane Doe's portfolio. Ho ho ho. I've already done this before, but just create a portfolio first, and then we're going to end up with a blank canvas. Mm-hmm. Just let it load. Alright, so now you have a blank canvas and absolutely no idea what's going to happen here. So I'm just going to introduce a few things about the Webflow designer. This is called the designer. And there are a few elements that we're going to use. The first one is on the left hand side panel, you'll see the add element, where you can add different elements here. We're going to use some of them, but not all of them, right? And this section over here, which is the navigator. Now the navigator is going to tell you what all the layout, like the different layout that you add onto the canvas over here, okay? There is and on top here, you can switch between what we call different breakpoints. So right now we're at the desktop breakpoint. Then we can switch to tablet, mobile horizontal, and mobile vertical, right? Landscape and portrait, right? You can always just expand and close on your own, and you can see on the bottom left, you can see what different breakpoints are. Like at the bottom, you see iPhone 11 Pro Max. This is the size for that. iPhone 12 Pro Max. I usually design for 320 pixels, which is the smallest one. There is one for the Nintendo Entertainment System, but I haven't. So far, that's not really needed on my side. Just 320 pixels. There you go. Okay, and on the right, you have a few tabs here, but mainly all you'll need to be focusing on is this one over here, which is the styling. And you have all types of, you can control all types of styling here, which is the layout, spacing, size, position, typography, backgrounds, borders, effects. Again, we're not going to use all of them, but it's good to know where, like how you can use all of this, right? So cool. Before I start building this thing, I want to introduce a few concepts, HTML, like styling concepts that you'll be coming across when you're building in Webflow. The first one is the box model. Now the box model is something very interesting. It's in when you do front end, you have to when you're building websites, you have to think about everything as one box. Okay, so what I mean by that is that it's really like everything's just made up of different boxes within the site, right? So you could say like actually the hero section is like one box over here, and oops, what's this going on? What's going on here? Oh shoot. Basically, how you arrange these different boxes in the space, that's how you build websites, right? And you could get really deep into it and like make everything kind of like very abstract, very avant-garde, very artistic, but essentially all you're doing is controlling boxes with content inside, and how you perform that different layout, within the screen. For example, in the hero section, we have like a hero text wrapper and a hero image wrapper, and you can basically see on Figma, right? They're just two different boxes that are stacked horizontally each other within this hero component, right? As you can see here, you can arrange it. I can choose to arrange it vertically or horizontally, and the hero text wrapper in itself has like multiple content pieces inside, like the heading, the paragraph, and the buttons. And then this is the image wrapper, which is just like it just has an image inside, right? So we're going to be you have to think about, when you're building layouts, you have to think of everything as just boxes. That's what I've repeated multiple times in a few seconds, but I hope you understand what's going on. To illustrate, I'm going to build something really easy. You don't have to follow along with this. This is just for demonstration purposes. I just created a box. For now, we're going to call it box. I'm going to call it parent, and I'm going to put multiple boxes within this box, right? Oops, let me just figure this out. Let's call this child, right? Right. So basically, and then we give this like pixels some shit in there. Let's see. Let's just first, you don't have to follow along, okay? And we're gonna give the child a color, background color, right? Okay, cool. So Now, what are we doing here? Why am I showing you this? Because first concept you need to know is what does it mean by a parent and a child element. Okay, so basically, a child element is what is inside a parent element. Okay, a parent element has multiple children inside, and a child can even have another child inside. But then that becomes, then this child becomes the parent. You know what I'm saying? So that's the concept. Usually, usually children have more than one parent. Oh my god, I can't believe I made that joke. Scratch that joke. That was a bad joke. But yeah. So basically, a child can be within a parent element. Okay. Excuse me. Oh. And now, if I want to change the layout of this parent element. I want to change the layout of all of these children. So what I'm gonna do is, choose in this layout panel. I can choose flex, which means I can not child, sorry, not parent. I can flex it, and then therefore you can already see that I can control the layout here. I can align it top, middle, end, or you could stretch it on the side. You can align it middle, or align it space between, or space around, sorry. Okay, and you can even give it a gap. So let's say if I want to put all of this here, I can give it a gap of 24 pixels, and it would always adapt to that, right? So this is cool. Boom, bam. Okay, cool. And another thing is called grid. And what grid is that it helps you align things in columns and rows. So as you can see, I can add more columns if I wanted to. I can add more rows if I wanted to. And so basically, if I had to add more children within this parent, I could just do that. And let's see. And I could even select this child, and I can make it expand across 4 things, right? Or it just gives more flexibility. And to be honest, it doesn't matter what you use in the end. Of course, for the time being, it really just depends on your use case. But I just wanted to introduce you different layout styles that we'll be using today, which is flex, and grid, and the concept of parent and child, right? So that's what I'm going to do. And now we are going to build all of these things. Okay, so first I'm going to start with the hero section, right? Just to give you an example of how I build things and how I arrange to build things in this Webflow project. So first, what I'm going to do is going to add a section. What a section is, it separates content in a format that is easily read by Google search engines and stuff. They read your content and say, oh, this is the hero section, etc., etc. Right. So usually within a section, we're going to add a container, and this container kind of helps to maintain responsiveness. Let's see. Yeah, it keeps your content centered, and then it defaults to 940 pixels. So it already usually I give how do you say? Usually I use custom containers. I wouldn't use the Webflow container, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to use the container here. Right, you just give the container, and then we're going to add a new div block. This is just a random block with no styling. Right, this is it helps you style stuff inside. So I'm just going to give a block inside. Now this block I'm going to give it call the hero component. There we go. Right. So again, this is the structure that we're going to have. We're going to have a section, and then a section which houses the content specifically in one area of the site. We have a container that keeps things centered, and then we have a component that that you can put the content inside. Right. So if we go back to our hero section, we'll see that you see on the layer here. Let's see. So can you see the layer? So the layer here says, let me just try to move my thing here. Okay. Well, the layer here says, that the hero component consists of the hero text wrapper and the image wrapper. Okay, so there's 2 boxes. So we need to make 2 boxes here. Let me just drag myself. Oops. Let me drag myself back here. Like that, and I'm going to make 2 boxes, right? I'm going to make 2 boxes. This one box here. We call it the hero text wrapper, and then we're going to make another box here. No, we're going to make another box here called the hero image wrapper. Hero image wrapper. Right? Now, what we're going to do now is add the text for now. So there's a heading inside, a paragraph, and there's also a button wrapper, right? So one question that like some people have asked is like, why don't you just like, so I'm just gonna add two buttons here first. So I'm gonna add two buttons, one button and then another button. Why don't you just like, people ask, why don't you just add some like, in order to put the spacing between, why don't you just add like, add some margin here. Now the reason why we don't do that is because like we want to keep like button styling uniform. Basically what you're saying here is that every button must have like some spacing on the right, which kind of has possibility to mess your styling up in the future. So I wouldn't suggest it to do it that way. Instead, I would perhaps wrap these buttons in a box and then style it differently, right? So we're gonna do that here. We're gonna do this here. I'm gonna call this the button wrapper real quick, right? And then we're going to give the button wrapper what's going on? Button wrapper a display of flex, and then give it a gap of like maybe over how many pixels is this? Let's see, 16 pixels. 16 pixels, bam, right? And then we're just going to replace the content here real quick. So this is transforming ideas, like that, right? And then we got this, put it there, right? And then the button is view work. View work. Excuse my the lag in my computer, but yeah, that's how it is. Okay, cool. And now we're going to get this image. So where are we going to get this image? I am going to get it from here. I have some assets here. So I'm going to upload this asset, which is here from my, you can just drag it in here. You can use whatever image you want, but I just want to drag it in here. Then I'm going to give this one a image. Choose an image. Choose this guy. This image. Cool. Now, for now, we're just gonna add the content. We'll add styling later. But for the in the designs, it's gonna be left and right. So what we're gonna do is take the here component, give it a flex, and then we're going to align center, right? And then what is the spacing here? 64 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Boom. Yeah, it's looking not so bad. I think the section is all right. Let's kind of move on. I think we have a lot to cover. So we have a services section, which is a heading on top and a grid of 2 by 2 on the bottom. So we're gonna add a new section now. We'll call it section. And then, so I'm how to search the. I'm using Command E to do a find anything, and then I can find an element that I need. So if I want to find a container, then I'm just gonna do this here. Oh, by the way, you saw that bug out a little bit, right? So the reason why is because we need to set the text wrapper with a width of 50% for now, and then the image wrapper with a width of 50%, so that it evenly shares that and it won't like bug out like in the middle of the, like when you're creating this layout. Okay, so I'm gonna add a section and a container and call this container. We're gonna call it the services component. There we go. Okay, now there's a heading which is on top, and then a services at the bottom. So what I'm gonna do is gonna make this the services heading wrapper, right? Now at the bottom, we're gonna call it the services grid wrapper, some shit like that. All right. So when the heading wrapper, add a heading. Now we're gonna give heading different. This is a heading 1, but then this at the bottom, we're gonna give it a heading 2 just to realign the heading. Usually heading 1s, they talk about the entire site, and then for heading 2 it's just a subtopic of heading 1, and then the heading 3 is a subtopic of heading 2. And this is done because like Google, all search engines like kind of look at all your sites and see if whether the hierarchy of the content is good, and it's easy to understand, and they give your site a ranking accordingly. So I would just suggest to follow best practices heading 1 should just usually found in the hero section and covers the entire site's topics, and the heading 2 is like a subtopic of heading 1, heading 3 is a subtopic of heading 2, etc., etc. So you'll see what I mean later. We're going to follow along and just give this a heading real quick. And then for the grid wrapper, I'm going to give this a 2x2 grid. Let's see how much. So we're going to have a 40 pixel gap here and 40 pixel gap here. Oh, did I mess it up? I think I did. Yep, 40 pixels like that. Oh, yeah, nice. Okay, so I am going to wrap all of this into a box, and we're going to call it a service. Okay, so boom, service. And we're going to give a heading, and we're also giving it a paragraph. Okay, now we can't make this a heading 1. We got to make, because since this is what the service has, it's a subtopic of heading 2, so we're going to give it a heading 3, right? And we're just going to edit the content accordingly. So this is visual branding, boom. This one is Jane Doe. This is just a description. And the great thing about Webflow is that you can copy paste things. So I want to copy this service, the styling of here, and then just copy it 3 more times. So what I do is select service, Command C, and grab the service grid wrapper and paste it 3 times like that. There you go. Now we're just gonna edit the content here like that. Boom. Oh. Okay, and then just continue. Boom. Follow along with me. Right, and then the last one is the content strategy. Nice. Boom. Nice. Cool. So we have a new section, services section, built that in no time. Looking pretty okay. I mean, there's no styling yet. We'll add the styling later. So we're gonna add a new section now, which talks about the work. So we're gonna do my work. My work is a similar format with the services section, where there's a heading, wrapper on top, and like a bunch of projects on the side. So this one, the layouts are gonna be a little bit complicated because there's an image, a title, and a paragraph, and this title has like a subtitle over here, which is arranged differently. But if you follow along, you'll figure it out. So again, as we created earlier, there's going to be a section, a container, and then like a services component. So we're going to follow the exact same format. Add a section here, add a container, and add a div block, and then call it the work component. Nice. And then the work component will have 2 boxes inside, which is the work heading component, right? And then and then another one, which is the work grid component. Oh, sorry, wrapper. Yeah, call it wrapper, my bad. Oh, shoot. Boom. I'm gonna change this into work heading wrapper and then the work grid wrapper. Nice. So for the work heading wrapper, what we're gonna do is we're going to add a heading and a paragraph. So I'm gonna add a heading here with it, and we're gonna add a paragraph here. Change the content. Okay. Let's see. Boom. And then boom. Remember to change this to heading 2, because this is a new section, which is a subtopic of the main topic over here. It's not going to be a heading 4 or heading 2. It's going to be a heading 2 here. Okay. Now this is the paragraph, and then the work grid wrapper. What we're going to do is make that into a grid of 40 by 40 again, and it's going to be a 2 by 2. Okay. So usually when you do portfolio work, you're going to have to create. For the sake of this video, we're going to build this 1 by 1, but in the next video I'll teach you things about how to create new projects if you ever have new projects, because you know, as a portfolio you're going to always have new projects to come up, right? And I'll do that in the next video. This involves a little bit of Webflow CMS, but for now, for styling purposes and just for demonstration, I'm just going to create these things. So statically, okay, without CMS. So we have an image, a title, and we also have a paragraph. So we are going to build that right now. What we're going to do is make a grid, and we're going to call it work. And then within the work paragraph, the work div block, we're going to add 3 layers. Okay. So the very first layer is the work image wrapper. Okay. Right. And then we're going to have a work heading wrapper. Okay, how about we don't call it work title wrapper? There we go. And then we're going to have the work description. Work content wrapper. That's good. We're gonna go. Okay. Now we're gonna add an image on top. So we're gonna add one image here. Boom. Right. And we're gonna give it. And for the title wrapper, we're gonna give it a heading, and we're gonna give it a subtitle as well. So I think we're gonna give it a text block like that. Make sure you realign the heading with heading 3 because it's a subtopic of heading 2. And with a word content wrapper, we can give it a paragraph. That should be it. Okay. So in the file that I'm going to upload as well, I'm going to share with you all the work project images. So I'm just going to upload that from my side. Drag it into your assets panel and just upload it accordingly. So I'm just going to choose the image, which is this one. Boom, like that. And that should be fine. Now I'm just going to replace the content first. Boom. And boom. And then a paragraph. Boom. Nice. Okay, so as you can see here, the work title wrapper would have like a heading on the left and then like a line to the right. So first we need to make the title wrapper display flex, and then make it side to side like that and center it. Should be good. Nice. And for the work, I think we're gonna give it some spacing. So what we're gonna do is for the work, we're gonna give it display flex, give it horizontal, and then give it a 24 pixels gap on the rows. Oh, that's too much. Maybe 8. Nice. Let's see. Now for we need to remove the margins here. Oops. That. And then that's when it kind of looks nice. Just, Webflow gives some styling. I don't really use it, but I would prefer not to have styling. So I'm just going to do this. Vertical. Nice. And for the work, we're going to make it 24 pixels like that. Yep. What we're going to do is copy the work and then duplicate it 4 times like that. And then just copy and paste the content. Copy and paste the content. Nice, nice, and nice. Okay. Then we have Forensic Science Institute. Forensic Science. Boom. Do Interior Design Studio Set. And this is by a company called Opulent, and we have a description here like that. And make sure to change the image according to how it's done on the design like that. We're gonna do that there, and then we have a different image here like that, and then we have a different image here for the robotics. Coolio. Nice. Okay, cool. That was a little bit of a stretch. I hope that wasn't too complicated, but so far so good. We have 3 sections here, which is the hero section, then we have the services section, and then lastly we have the work section. Cool. Just keep it going. I'm just going to clean up a little bit about the some of the styling here, like that. And then maybe the heading bar as well. Cool. Now the last thing we're going to do is do the call to action section. So we're gonna, the call to action section is fairly straightforward. It's just a title, a heading, and the email. So we're going to, again, we're going to give it a section, and then we're going to give it a container. And for the container, we're going to give it a div inside, and we're going to call it a CTA component. There we go. Now the CTA component, it doesn't need to be too fancy. It's just a contact me, what is this, a paragraph and an email. So again, give it a heading, and we're going to give it a paragraph, and then we're going to give it a text link. Boom, like that. Cool. Now the heading 1. Let's see, we got to change that to a heading 2. Change the content, contact me. Boom. Text here. And then the text link should show like jane.doe@gmail.com or something like that. Cool. And maybe we give the CTA component a flex and then give it a gap of like 24 pixels. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. Now we have 4 sections ready to go. And now the last thing we need to do is give it a footer and a header. So we're going to create the footer real quick. Footer is not too fancy. We have a footer left, which is follow me on social media, and then footer right, which contains the links, right? So we're going to give it a section again, and we're going to give it a container. Oops, container. Where are we? And then we're going to give the container a div and call it the footer component. Nice. And the footer component has a footer left. I'm just going to do it like that. Or for the sake of this, we're going to call it a footer left wrapper, and then we're going to call it a footer right wrapper. Okay. Footer left wrapper has a text, or we're going to call it a heading maybe? Yeah, let's give it a heading. And we'll give it a heading. And just give it follow me on social media, please. What is the heading? Well, heading 2. Okay, why not? And then we have 3 links here. So we're going to give this one 3 links, text link like that. And then we'll copy it 3 times, 2, like that. Nice. Now what we're going to do, I don't know if you can see it, but we need to align these horizontally. So on the footer component, we're going to give it display. And then they are side by side. So what we're going to do is align it center first, and then give it a justify space between. And now the text links are close to each other. So what we're going to do is footer right wrapper, and give it flex again, and give it some padding. So give it a gap like that, maybe a little bit more, 24 pixels. Cool. We're going to change this to Instagram. We're going to change this to Twitter. Oops, Twitter. And then to LinkedIn. Cool. Last but not least, we're going to do the navigation menu. I don't usually use the navigation menu so often here. I mean, like the native one, but for the sake of this, we're just going to use this. So for the nav bar, we're going to call it the nav bar first, and remove the color, the color here. Make it maybe transparent or something. You can literally type transparent. It's going to give transparent. Now the brand, I don't have a logo or anything, so I'm just going to use a text block and then call it name is Jane Doe. And I'm going to give this brand one. I'm going to give it a brand, and I'm going to make it like bold, maybe the size of like what's the size of this? Boom. Size is 32 pixels. Let's see if that looks good. Yeah, it looks kind of okay. Boom. Then I'll give it a height. What's the line height here? Line height is 100%. So we're going to give it 100%. Like that. It should be fine. And the content here should be services, work, and contact. So I'm just going to change that real quick. Services, work, and contact. Okay, nice. And for the, what else we got? I'm going to give brand. What I'm going to do is take this brand. Can I give it height 100%? That doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to give this a container. I'm going to put inside a div block here, because now the reason why I'm doing this is because like the alignment, there's a little something off with the alignment. I can't really control where the brand is, like where this left hand side goes. I want to center it align here. So what I would do in this case is think of things in a box level. So I'm just going to add a box here, and then kind of just put all the stuff inside here like that. Maybe call this one the nav bar component, right? And then I can use this specifically to, what's going on? Nav bar component, align it here like that, align it like that, and then justify right. And that way it helps me with alignment, right? Think of things as boxes, and whenever you're trying to debug stuff, this is how you should think about it. Okay. Now, we just finished the entire site. Now we're gonna style this up. Now, how do we style this up? That's a great question. So if you look back on our content here, we have style guide here, which is instrument serif. It's a nice little font. I downloaded, and we have buttons here. and we have the spacing system here, and we have the container here. So nothing too crazy. I think to import the font, what we're gonna do is add fonts from here right away, which opens up this new portfolio. And so for the sake of like simplicity services, simplicity, we're just gonna add it right here. An instrument serif. Add the font, and that's it. Usually I would download it and upload them as custom fonts to comply with GDPR, but that's another topic. Again, this is just for the demonstration and to really teach you how to like build from the design to develop. Okay, so gonna load it up again. And what we're gonna do is fix up a little bit about the spacing before we get things going. Design here. Let's see. Actually, so what we're gonna do? Change the font. How we're gonna change the font? I wouldn't really I would go for the body and then just change it directly to instrument serif. Now, in case there's like different fonts for like the heading has a different font than the paragraph, I would perhaps like cover that in another topic, right? So how do we start this off? Okay, let's see. Now we're gonna fix a little bit about the spacing. The nav bar itself, has no specific like styling, but it's just black with white text. So I would select the nav bar itself, give it a background color of black, and now that you can't see the text, now I'm just gonna make the color white, the text color white, and nothing really happens. The reason why is, and when that happened, usually you have to really look at each part step by step and kind of figure out like what's going on. Like, now why is this one not white? White. Yeah, I guess it's just a menu. What we're gonna do is change that one. Does that work? No, that doesn't work. Okay, move that. Maybe give it a nav link. Now the reason, like, you should really be careful about what you name your classes, because that basically determines the behavior of different elements in your entire project. So in this case, I have 3 nav links. I just gave them 3 class names called nav link, and if I change the color to white, let's see, or red maybe, now it's gonna go into red, right? And because each of these links have the same class name, all the behavior is inherited by anything that I change. So I just changed it to red, but I want it to be white, and that's it. Cool. Now what we're gonna do now is the hero section. That's it. That's all we're gonna do for the heading. For the hero section, what we're gonna do is first give this one a class name called section, and then we're gonna call it black. Okay. Now this is what we call a combo class, and that basically, like what I want to say is like just have a normal section, but like if I add the class black, then this is what's gonna happen. Okay. So when I'm gonna add this black, I'm going to change the color to white, right, and then we're gonna change the background color to black, like that. Nice. And now let's see what happens if I remove the black combo class. This is going back to normal. And this is one of the questions that some of the students had during the workshop. If I wanted to have this black, then I'm just gonna have it black like that, black like that. Cool. Now I'm going to take control of the spacing here. So there's 24 pixel spacing in the hero text wrapper. So what we're gonna do is again apply flex, vertical, and give it a gap of 24 pixels like that. It should be fine. Now the heading one, it's a little bit large here. What is it? 96 pixels. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of like just changing it purely from here, this leaves the class, like this auto generates a class name there, and I wouldn't recommend that, because then like if you have a habit of like keep adding keep allowing Webflow to generate like classes for yourself, it's hard to keep a track of what's going on. So I would just remove this. I would just not use that. And then like how to get this is click this, click that, and then all heading 1 tags. So all heading 1 tags will have this style. So I'm gonna add this. Boom. And then I think it's 100% like that. Is it? Oh, there we go. That's a little bit large. Let's try to just change it a little bit like that. That should looks good. The paragraph, same thing. I think the paragraph itself is what, like 18 pixels. Okay, cool. I'm gonna change that to 18 pixels and maybe give it a bit more line height, 140%. Now the buttons are gonna be a little bit different. Let's see, it's 24 pixels. So each button, like what we're gonna do now is we're gonna give, this is the primary button and this is the secondary button, but because it's in a black background, we have to give it like a little bit of a special treatment. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is gonna call this the button and I'm gonna call it primary, right? And this is gonna be the button, and then secondary. Okay, so the primary button would have like usually just be like white text and black color, like that. And then for this one, it would just be like a width of 1 with a border of black, and then just black like that. And then there's just a transparent background, right? But since it's on top of a white background, like it needs to invert. So what I would do is like take that button primary and add white, and then that just flips it around, and give it the behavior you want like that. Boom, right? And then for this one, give it white as well, and flip it around with the behavior you want. And there you have it. You have basically what we've done is use combo classes, this type of logic, to be able to edit the buttons to behave in the UI that you want here. So if I remove this section, remove primary white, it's just gonna go back to the normal styling. Contact us is again same. Just gonna go back to the normal styling, so it's white. So there is going to be some spacing, right? So I think where do I do this? Possibly in the hero component, I'm going to add some new spacing. So there's going to be 64 pixels on the top, 64 pixels at the bottom. So what I'll do is add some padding there, add some padding there, and it's good to go. It's good to go. Looking great. I think in order to what I would do here as well is just give it an image like that, class called image. So all images will have class called image, and give it 100%, 100%, and give it a for now. Okay, let's keep moving. I think this one should be fine except for the spacing here. So what I would do is go to the services component, give it a 64 pixels padding, 64 pixels padding. Is it 64 pixels? Let's see. Yeah, it is. Now the spacing here is a little bit messed up, I think. So what I'm gonna do is gonna give services a flex. Is it 24 pixels or 16 pixels? I don't know. Don't go with your gut. Always look at the design. 16 pixels. Okay, cool. And there is some spacing between of 40 pixels. So what I would do is change the layout again to display flex vertical, and then give a value of 40 like that. Cool. If I'm going too fast, always you can always pause the video, rewind the video and stuff. I just like to I just do things very fast. So, and if it's too fast, even if it's just like a recording of this, just let me know in the comments below if I'm going too fast. Okay, so here we go. I'm going with the heroes. What was this? The work section. The work section, there's a background color, right? So we're gonna give this section, and then gray. Nice. And this is just normal section, I think. Oops. Yeah, this is section black. Okay. There's nothing wrong with this section, but then with this one, this section is called section gray. What's going on? Okay. Okay. We're gonna give it section and gray. I think. Cool. I think I gave it the wrong section. Okay, cool. So this section gray is going to have a background color of this. Nice. And then now we're going to go to the component, which is here. Give it some padding, so it's 64 pixels top, 64 pixels bottom. And for the heading wrapper, we're gonna give it flex again, vertical, and maybe 16 pixels like that. Nice. We took care of the layout here, I think, so I think it's okay. Now lastly, we're going to deal with, let's make this a little bit neater for everyone's convenience. Boom. Now we're gonna deal with the call to action. So the call to action section is black with white text. So if I add a style section and black like that, it's already going to apply the styling that I want, which is great. It's what I needed. There's styling at the top. There's padding on top and bottom. So I'm just gonna give 64 pixels like that. Is it 64? Yeah, it is 64. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, the link shouldn't be blue, it should be white, and it has a bigger styling. So I'm just gonna give this a CT8 link like that, and we can give it a color of white and 32 pixels and 120%, maybe 100%. Is it 100%? Yeah, 100%. And there we go. Oh, why is it so much bigger? Let's see, heading 48. Okay, so heading 2s need to be 48 pixels. So I'm just gonna edit it here. 48 pixels and 100%. Boom, like that. Great, nice. Okay. Now, lastly, what we're gonna do is this heading 2 is too big. Maybe I'm gonna give it a text block like that. And give it a footer left text maybe. Yeah. And how big is this? It's a heading 3. So actually, it's a heading 3. What am I doing? You can use Command Z to undo all the mistakes you've made and then just change it. No. If you use heading 3, then it's going to be it's not going to follow the hierarchy, which is really bad. So I'm going to call this like a footer left text, right? And then just style it according to how I've done it here. This is 32 pixels with 100% line height, 32 pixels, 100% line height. Boom. And the footer itself should have a padding of 32 pixels. So go to the component and give it 32 pixels like that, 32 pixels like that, and it should be good. Follow me on social media. And then for the links, I'm going to call it the footer link. All of these links should have the same footer link, right? And then we're going to give the footer link a text color of black. Boom. And there we go. That's it. Maybe nav link should be a little bit bigger, maybe 18 pixels. Nice. There we go. Sounds good, looking good. Okay, so the last step of this is to make sure that it looks good on all devices. So what we've done now is that, like, if I click this little icon here, I can see what it looks like when it's 920 pixels. I can also look what it's look like at 1440 pixels and 1280 pixels. You know, it's still looking good. Maybe if I go down to maybe 1024 or something, maybe something's gonna happen. No, it's still looking good. Okay. Still looking good, but maybe there's a different behavior when I go on tablet. Tablet's looking good so far. Not really. Let's see. It kind of looks okay, but like, to me, I don't like this, the size of this, and it's probably because it's due to the size of this heading one. So I'm gonna make this heading one a little bit smaller in what's it called, in tablet. Okay, but everything else looks okay. I am all right with this, except maybe it's too okay. Let's see if there's a problem. Actually, no, there's no problem, but in here there's a problem. Let's try to make this heading wrap. Anyway, let's fix this first, because there's an issue here. Why can't we just like put the nav menu here? Oh, nope. There we go. Okay. So make sure your nav menu is in the menu buttons is in the nav bar component, because basically what's happening is that when you switch from desktop to mobile, the nav menu itself, this box that contains all the nav links, it's gonna disappear, right? And the nav menu button is going to appear at the end, right? So navbar component, what we've done is we already have styling here. We just need to make it aligned, and it's all good to go. Where are we at now? And two. I think what I want to do is I want to wrap these titles in a box and call it the heading wrapper or something like that. Yep, I'm gonna do that. So what I'm gonna do is take a div, put that inside here, and put that heading 3 inside this div block. Work heading work title. Oh no, I've used all of it. Okay. Work heading. I'm going to give this a width of 30% maybe 50%. Yeah, cool. Now all work headings need to be like this. Okay. So I'm gonna do this div. Give it a div. Oops. Div like that. Add the heading here. And then give this div a class name called the work heading. Okay, nice. And then what will happen is that the work heading will be according to what I've just done. Okay, so do the same thing. Boom. Bam. Give it a work heading. Great. This one. Give it a div. Work heading. Boom. There we go. Let's see if it's the same here. The work heading. Now I've applied the work heading, the width to be 50%, but as you can see, like, since I didn't put a style to it on desktop, I think, yeah, it doesn't apply, but it will apply to the styling that I put, which is width 50%, is going to apply to landscape, the mobile landscape, and mobile portrait. Okay, so just to keep that in mind, anything you put style in tablet is not going to apply to desktop, but it's going to apply to mobile below. Okay, so cool. Let's just keep it going. Let's see. Okay, looking good. I don't think there's any issues here. Boom. Even if I put it like that. Okay, cool. Now let's go to landscape. I think I saw some like issues already, that's just wonderful. Okay, what we're gonna do now is, let's see the container here. Let's see the map right here. Now first it's a little bit messy. There's no there's no padding. That's the reason why. There's no padding here. Okay. What we're gonna do now, we're just gonna give this a here component. We're gonna change to vertical real quick. Nice. That looks a lot better. And I think what we're gonna do with the services grid wrapper is we're, instead of calling it, gonna make it 2x2, we're just gonna make it on top of each other. Now there's gonna be some spacing in between, so we're just gonna give it like some 40 pixels, should be fine. Same thing goes for the grid wrapper. Change it back to flex and then vertical it again, right? Like that. Should be all good. Let's see. Boom. Oh, the reason why it's like that is because the text wrapper still has that 50%, so we're just gonna make it auto. Just make it auto real quick, and we're gonna make image wrapper auto. So that means it's not gonna have the 50% width. It's just gonna have whatever just gonna have whatever we style it in the end. Okay, and again, since we make it auto, it's gonna apply when we move down to a lower breakpoint, but it's not going to be the same when it comes back to the width here. Go back to tablet, nor is it gonna happen when we go back to desktop. Okay, so let's see. So for this container, what I'm gonna do now is, because now all elements are like, side to side like that, I want a little bit of spacing on the side. So what I'm gonna do is add container this class to all the containers that we've ever made so far. So we're gonna add container here, container here. We're gonna add a class name, container. Boom. Boom. And then one more is this guy over here. And what we're gonna do is gonna give it a maximum width. The maximum width, we can probably go with 400 pixels like that or something like that. No, that doesn't work. Maybe make it 100%. What we're gonna do is make no, the reason why is because I kind of want to just keep consistent spacing across all the elements here. Maybe give it all back to the section. Maybe the section itself will have just a margin, a padding of maybe 32 pixels and then 32 pixels, right? And then black would have the same. Okay, there we go, nice. And this one, oh, let's go ahead and give it a class section. Boom. Nice, 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 looking good. Okay, now the next thing is the reason, like the image is not like fully, it's not fully stretched through the image wrapper. So what I'm going to do is take that image, give it a class of image, and then give it across all the images here. And what that does is, because the image class name has a width of 100%, 100%, right? It's going to fill the rest of that space. Boom, like that. And I would give it a fit of cover, just so that like it doesn't look stretched across multiple screen sizes and all that. I think footer component does not have that container yet. I think it's because the section, it doesn't have that section yet. Oh, like that. So section, nice. Lastly, if I go back to here, let's try to change that section back to 16 pixels and 16 pixels, just to align with what's happening over here. I don't know why. Okay. Boom. Heading 2 is looking a little bit large, so I'm just gonna make that smaller and make it maybe 24 pixels, or maybe 32 pixels. There we go. This one, looking good, looking good, looking good. Oh, I think for this one, for this layout, I want to make the title wrapper vertical. So instead of horizontal, vertical like that, to the side like that. And 24 pixels like that. Oh, 16. 8. There we go. Nice. Now I don't want to have this like spacing anymore, so I'm just gonna give it a quadrant like that, and that's gonna apply everywhere. Great, awesome. For the footer, I am going to make it vertical and to the left, and for the right wrapper, I'm gonna make it vertical as well, and I'm going to give it a gap, maybe 24 pixels, something like that. Should be good to go. Yeah, it's looking great. Nice. So what we've done just now is we've added all our content into the site. We added our own styling to it, and we've checked for mobile responsiveness. So that's basically all we're gonna learn today. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll come out with more videos like this. Basically, and again, I don't develop it like this. I do have a certain framework that I follow, but for the sake of like simplicity and to introduce Webflow to to newcomers who don't know much about web development and stuff, it's important that you know all these like these concepts, which is like the box model, different layouts, and you also know how to like different layouts, how do you use combo classes, etc., etc. So we'll stop here for now, and we'll continue on with the next video later, which is probably how to use CMS to control your work. So thanks again for watching, guys. I hope I wasn't too messy here and there. I wasn't too fast, but if you like what you see, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helped me a lot. Thank you.